Again, just a formal welcome to everybody. Welcome on board this Monday, the 27th. As I was saying just now, a public holiday, but what does that mean in today's world? We're not too sure, but we'll find out, I'm sure. So fantastic morning to all of you and welcome. And yeah, I'm just going to hand straight over to Lee to get us going. So Lee, over to you.
Well, welcome everyone. And it's Human Rights Day, is it? Or Freedom Day? Human Rights Day. Well, I wish you all a good human right.
No, it's Freedom Day.
Freedom Day. Freedom Day. Freedom Day to be free, yeah. The theme of yesterday was around choices, and there were some really significant moments around the choices that we've made and the choices that have impacted our lives, and that even though sometimes those choices have not been easy, there's no regrets. I think that was this, you know, it was the best choice we made, and we pleased we made that choice. And I think that led naturally to us saying, well, what are we grateful for? How does gratitude, and I think Stella raised it in terms of, you know, the choice she makes every day to be grateful. Trevor spoke about, well, let's talk a little bit more around gratitude. So I think we all can assume it's been something that's been around in the public discourse for a long time, is the importance of gratitude. So rather than just talk about why that's important or how that's important, let's be a little bit personal, and especially over these last 5 weeks or 4.5 weeks or so that we've been in lockdown, what have you been grateful for? Let's reflect on a difficult time in human history and pinpoint those points, those places, those moments that we've been grateful for. So for me, besides the obvious things of family and so on, I think one of the things that I'm grateful for is that immediately once lockdown was announced, my Pilates instructor renovated a small place in her home and has been doing virtual classes. So I've been able to carry on my Pilates, and besides that, she's done pop-up classes. So the rest of my family have also enjoyed. We've done lifts with tin cans and all kinds of things. So that's definitely something that I'm grateful for, just to keep the exercise, just to have a little bit of fun. And I think the other thing I'm grateful for is realizing that you have to consciously make time to do the things that are important. So the structure or the routine of your day doesn't dictate that anymore. So you have to make the decisions and the choices as to what you do. And the intentionality of that makes a difference. And the one simple example I give is of saying to my mom, can I have tea with you? Now my mom lives with me, but we had a special moment where I went across to her patio and we had tea together. We've done many other activities, but just having that moment of an official tea date was really, really significant, because it gave her a chance to talk a little bit more. And so those are two little things that I highlight as things that I'm grateful for. Over to you.
Great, thanks Lee for that. We'd like to pick up from there, or shall we just do a whip around? Stella, you're looking like you've got something on your mind, so let's go across to you.
Morning, everybody. For me, specifically during lockdown, I'm so grateful for technology, for this forum that we've got. Can you imagine how it would have been if we couldn't chat with other people? We've had family Zoom meetings, house party meetings. There's so many platforms on where you can actually connect with other people that's not close to you. And we've actually found that with the family specifically, we've been talking more now during lockdown with this great technology available to us. So that has been really fantastic to me, because I think if I didn't have that, it would have been much more difficult during lockdown. And then just, you know, I'm so grateful that I can talk to God wherever I am. I'm grateful that I don't need technology. It doesn't matter where I am, what my circumstances is. I can just talk to him when I'm happy, when I'm sad, whenever. And he's always available. And he will always listen to me. So that has also kept me going during this lockdown period. Thank you, guys.
Great, thanks, Stella. Jasper, your thoughts?
I'm actually not sure what to think, because yes, I'm grateful for if I see on social media some of the conditions other people have to live under during this lockdown. We are extremely blessed. I'm very blessed to have my whole family with me, and we have a big enough space here that you know, people almost can feel on holiday with our space here. My son put out a table tennis table there, and we have our little tournaments and stuff. So the lockdown itself is good, and I also feel I'm more productive this last month plus that we've been under lockdown than before. And I was just thinking last night, how will it change if all of a sudden they say we're now at phase one can move again? I'm actually quite content with my routine that I started to develop. The only difference, I will probably go out to the gym now instead of trying to run around here in my yard. But for other people, I can see this has been quite a strain, this whole lockdown, and obviously we would like some human traffic coming in and out our yard again. But yes, like Stella, you know, I think the words that came up in me yesterday was, for a time such as this. And there's the story of Queen Esther, who became a queen and saved the people for a time such as this. And I was thinking of all of us, and I was counting my blessing that just looking at what we're now doing with the trade fair and the mall, with the coming together of this technology, and we would not have been able to even attempt this trade fair if we haven't spent the last 3 years in building relationship with the chamber. And I would not have been able to get Trevor's interest if I wasn't at that stage already 8 years busy with the gig, and by that time had the community bank in place. So I think all of us have been prepared for a time such as this in our own unique way. And then the question is, and someone else yesterday said, this is not the end. This is just a new chapter in your story. So none of us know what is the finishing scene in this book. And I like this thing of, we are now starting a new chapter. And it can be an exciting chapter because the pen is in our hands. Yeah, so that's my thought today.
Great, thanks, Jasper. Some great thoughts there. Steve, let's go across to you.
Cool. I was thinking through, excuse me, I was thinking through this question about gratitude yesterday. So I've got two things I'll share with you guys. I can even show you a picture if Lee lets me share my screen. Last year in September, we had to move from the home that we were renting. The person sold the home, and I was really upset about that because I didn't want to move. I was very happy where we were. But we were fortunate enough to find a place within the exact same complex that we've been in for the last 3 years. And this time we have a home on the park, which is around the back of the property. And so in lockdown, when we felt a little bit too much of cabin fever, we are so grateful that we're able to just go out and sit in the back garden, and we have this expanded view from what we had if we'd been in the previous place, which would have just been the 4 walls and a small garden out the back. So that's been a great blessing, even though the kids still want to know every day why they can't go into the park. And we have to tell them that we're waiting till Mr. President says that that's all right. But at least we've got some extra space. And the second is my wife's family, her dad and her little brother had to relocate to Holland at the beginning of, or sort of halfway through last year in about July. The rest of her family's there. Thanks, Ivan. I'll show you the picture now. And it was just a very difficult time for everyone. And part of the issue was just her younger brother's schooling. He'd been out of school, being homeschooled for 2 years. Her mom had been homeschooling him, and her mom had died 2 years ago. And so he'd had about a year or so without anybody actually actively teaching him. And he's transitioned across into a Dutch school, and they've got various levels of education. And he had to start in the bottom level and brush up on his Dutch. And we just heard in the last few days that he's done so well that he's being moved up a level. His Dutch is great. His academics is caught up, which is nothing short of miraculous, having missed almost 2 years. And so the little things like that really make you full of gratitude.
Great, thanks, Steve, for that. Yeah, let's pop across to Herman while Steve shares his screen there.
My apologies, I got kicked out. There was all of a sudden my internet disconnected completely. I'm back now.
Herman, we've been trying to kick you out for 35 days, but you keep on coming back, so I'm not too sure.
Well, you know what? I'm willing stepping down if that's the case, if it makes you guys more comfortable. Steve's picture just reminded me how lucky I am. Right outside my window, there's a garden of about 2,500 square meters, where I spend a couple of hours every day, take my chair and read. So I'm grateful for that. But what I'm like to share with you is something very small, which had a major impact on my life when I came across that particular statement. It's called the future. The future is not a result of choices among alternative paths offered by the present, but a place that is created. First in mind, next in will, then in activity. The future is not some place we are going to, but a place we are creating. The paths are not to be discovered, but made. And the activity of making the future changes both the maker and the destination. Now, one of the reasons that resonated so strongly with me was simply that I was one of the people who very often is not very conventional and breaks his own path. And that was another thing I heard by somebody said, when somebody said that broken paths are for broken people. And having been able to break my own path is something I'm tremendously grateful for. Thanks, guys.
Right, thanks, Herman, for that. Pierre, your thoughts? We don't.
Morning, everyone. Yeah, it was just a time for reflection on oneself, and just to see, you know, where, which way forward. Just to spend time that you come out of the rat race, just to be quiet and listen. You know, sometimes we are so busy we don't listen, and that to me, it's now you listen, and in that things will evolve, things will change and stuff. And then also grateful for this forum. You know, just to rub shoulders with one another, pick one another's brains, and you know, just to that you're not in your own island. You know, we are here to support one another, and yeah, that is also just to spend time with family. you know, that my dad is also with us now. So yeah, it's just, you know, it's a good time. It's a good time. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Pierre. Ian.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that I live on a golf course right next to the golf course. And last night I watched Carte Blanche. I haven't watched Carte Blanche for years. I don't enjoy watching it, but my daughter has a particular project that was supposed to be aired on Carte Blanche last night. So she asked me to have a look. So I sat through painfully an hour of Carte Blanche, and it didn't come on because it's only scheduled, I think, for next week. But anyway, there was a lot of things about these kids who can't go to school, and for a lot of these kids in the townships, when they go to school, they also get a meal. So that's probably one of the biggest square meals that they get, which they're not getting now. And there were a lot of people sort of from suburbs and communities. Dane Fern's very active in terms of making food and getting it out there, and there are a lot of them who are doing that. And I just reflected on Cyril's discussion the other day where he was talking about billions of rand that's being allocated, and yet there's no indication of it happening down in the provincial and the local level where this, maybe it is happening, but I don't see it, I'm not aware of it, where all this money, very simply, I mean, it's not, you know, you've got thousands of restaurants that are closed now. It's easy to say, listen, guys, here's some money. I want you to make 200 or 300 or 500 plates of this particular product. Here's my trucks. I've got an army that's sitting around doing nothing. Here are the vehicles. Put it in and distribute it to these areas. For me, it's just logical and makes sense. It just needs somebody to actually make something happen. So that was very, very disappointing and frustrating for me to see that these people are starving. These people are really struggling. And they don't have to. I mean, there's a mechanism, there's a means, there's the finances, there's the logistics that can actually get out there and help them. So that was very, for me, really heartbreaking to see. And then, you know, for me, I'm in a routine. I swim every morning at 6 o'clock, 6:15. And the water is very cold. I make no mistake, and I'm no hero. But for me, it's a discipline. And once I get into the water and I just keep going, and yeah, I am cold, but you know, I'm swimming out there. I'm very grateful for the fact that the sun comes up this morning, and just to have that experience when I'm in the water was just amazing. So I'm very grateful for that, and obviously reflecting on what I saw last night on Carte Blanche, and I'm sure it's happening everywhere. And it's, you know, there are a lot of people doing a lot of good things. But, you know, I think the spearhead should be coming from government and distributing that money. There was a thing on SA Airlink that's also gone bang, and that resulted from probably a year or so ago when there were R1 billion was put into it, and it was abused, and there was corruption. So the money didn't. So those kind of things very frustrate me when they don't actually have to happen. So I'm very grateful for my position where I am, but also one is in lockdown is very limited to kind of what help you can give. I know people are doing a great job. So every day I try and find something that I'm grateful for, you know, family, all these kind of things. But today I was grateful for the fact that I had the opportunity to swim, albeit in cold water, and watch the sun come up. And a lot of people, unfortunately, weren't able to experience that.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah. There's always two sides to the coin, isn't there? And I think you've encapsulated that in what you were saying there. So, yeah, whilst we can be extremely grateful for our situations, there's always somebody else who's not in such a good place. So, yeah, thanks for that. Silo, your thoughts?
Morning, everybody. I don't really have a lot to say, but I am definitely grateful to have met everyone that I've met here. It's you can only imagine how different possibly our upbringing might have been, and yet there's something very similar there. There's something kin. And I responded to that very much so. And to make things very practical, it's some of the conversations that I've had on the side. I mean, conversations I had with Steve, conversations I had with Ian, both the Ians, you know, the Silver Fox. I've really grown. I've expanded my universe, and for that I'm very, very grateful. it's true, there are two sides to the coin, and we are facing month end now. So some of the calls that I'm getting from my guys, even for myself, you know, the landlords are starting to knock. There's proper questions being asked. But when I look at some of the connections that we're able to make by pausing a little bit, by, you know, just reflecting and sitting down, I realize it helps to have a stronger mind. It helps by having a stronger environment that you belong to. And I really am grateful to have met every one of you. I've read some of this stuff online. Ivan and your grace self, I think you're a cool dude. You know, it's been quite a fine ride for me. It's been quite a fine ride, and for that I'm really grateful.
Super, thanks. Hello, Guy, your thoughts?
Morning all. Yeah, just if I may, just in 3 phases. 1997, quickly, my old man spent 3 months in ICU, and we used to go and visit him, and I saw many people pass away at that time around him. Unfortunately, he didn't get out of ICU after 3 months. So that definitely put a different perspective on my approach to life, etc., etc. And later on in life, we might have all come across it, but I have gratitude stones all around my house. And if I go out, I always have one in my pocket. So wherever I see these, I touch them, and it reminds me daily, because sometimes we get fogged and shoot off in other directions, and sometimes up until the past number of years one gets very arrogant. So I have these all dotted around the house, and it just reminds me to be very grateful for where I'm at, etc. And then following on from that, in terms of Ian being able to physically swim, etc., I for many years donate funds to the Association of Mouth and Foot Painters, and one of my goals is I've always wanted to try and buy all their paintings and have an operation where I could sell their paintings for no profit, because what they do, imagine painting something with a foot or a mouth, and you know, I get their material, etc., and I find it very fascinating and inspiring. I don't know if I would have that strength, but anyway. And then just the last point, I'm actually enjoying this physical distancing. Yes, I'm meeting, I've gone technology-wise like a lot of you other older goats. There's some younger people here, which has been a fascinating journey for me. And what I've enjoyed about it, I can have started earning some money by coaching online, and I can sit here. I don't have to go in the traffic or anything. I can express myself, etc., etc., in certain ways. Now, there's certain upsides and downsides, but I actually really enjoy it. So, you know, I can sit here, do whatever, send some slides, coordinate. Yeah, so I'm grateful for that over this lockdown period. So, good discussion, and thanks for the topic.
Thanks, guys. Cecile, your thoughts?
Can I share my screen?
Please do.
Let me just find it. Share content, you can see photos. Sorry, just bear with me. Does I? Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. So I also, in the last about 3 months ago, I made a point of practicing gratitude. So in the evening before I go to bed, I pray and I practice the gratitude. I think specifically about things that I want to be grateful about. And in the morning when I wake up, the same thing. The things that I'm daily grateful for is that garden. That's my garden there. So during lockdown, whenever I want to go out, that's my little sanctuary. And there's at the back there's a long stretch, and in our complex, people can still walk and run and whatever. So I can do my karate training every day. And I found someone gave me a friend of mine gave me another sensei that sends out the, training lessons weekly. So I do that because I want to grade my second Dan at the end of May. And she's given the second day and grading syllabus, so I'm up to date with the second day and grading syllabus. And when I do videos of myself, I can see, me, it's paying off. And the other thing that I'm grateful about is Zoom technology, because every Sunday afternoon, my twin sister and me and my mom, we get onto a Zoom call, and for 2 hours we chat as if we are just right next to each other. That is just the nicest thing. And then the third thing is, I like Jasper. Well, my routine hasn't changed at all, because it's just been business as usual. But what I'm very grateful about is that I could partner with other companies that sell essential products. So the thermometers and masks and sanitizer and disinfectant and all that kind of stuff. So I've pivoted and I'm selling that that is the mainstream of things that I'm selling right now. So that's bringing immediate income into my household. And then the other thing is my husband that works with Liberty Life, and they can't be at work at the moment. So we've set up an office for him in one of the other spare rooms. So he's also been productive, because I don't know what would have done if he was unproductive and under my feet all the time. Yeah, but that's good. So he's happy and content doing his bit from his study, and I'm doing my bit from my study. But all of us can go out in the garden and do whatever we want to do, and it's just tranquil and lovely. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Cecile. Trevor.
Right, if Cecile takes down her share screen, I can share a screen as well. And while you're doing that, Cecile, I'm just thinking, as people are talking here, that we seem to be on this moving totem pole of life, and that we're somewhere on the totem pole, and at all times there's someone above you and there's someone below you. And I think I'm grateful that I'm not the guy that's at the bottom, okay, whoever that is, and at least I'm somewhere where I can be grateful for the position. But I always know there's some great people above me, there's some people that have got way more than what I've got, and there are people way below me. And so you've got to be grateful for whatever you've got in life, because you could be down at the bottom, or you could be the guy at the top that's got all the money in the world, but they jump off the top of a building. But Stella actually raised this for me. I think she was talking yesterday or the day before, and she just talked about how grateful she was. Now, how do I get, yes, okay. So what I did yesterday quickly was to turn around and say, hey, I love my life. And I love every day of my life. And at the same time, I'm an introvert. I'm certainly not an extrovert. And I can, I know Jasper's going to fall off his chair and all that sort of thing, but I'm absolutely introverted. I'm very private. I don't share much about my life, but when I do, I put it into writing, because that makes you actually stand by it. And when it came up about thinking about what to be grateful for and what to be thankful for, I went to have a look. I remember that I wrote this down, and I found this article that I wrote in the year 2001. Some of you will recognize it. It was an operation that we had called It's So Simple. And in that, I just went to go and review what I actually wrote there. So I think I'll just read it out for you quickly, what I wrote. I'm ever so thankful for my wife, who is my best friend and partner. And thank goodness, I mean, over lockdown, I've never eaten so well. And for the last 20 years, remember, this was written in 2001. So now I've got another 20 years of adding on to that. And this 20x, everything that I tell you here is 20x over the last 20 years. Number two, I'm hugely thankful for my two daughters, who amaze me every day with their maturity, so advanced for their young years. Number three, I'm thankful for my parents who brought me into this world and gave me the opportunity to be thankful for my life. Number 4, I'm thankful for the nice, simple home we live in and own debt-free. And one of the things, I've never been into material things. If I've got a roof over my head because I came from nothing, and I've got 4 wheels on a car, I think down the same line as Warren Buffett. I'd love to have all of his money, but he doesn't spend all his money on big things. He was in his home for a good 40, 50 years. I've been in my home for over 30 years. We're almost in 40 years. What more do you need? I'm thankful for the vehicles we have to drive around in, especially in South Africa. I'm thankful for the wonderful privilege of working from home in a nice, comfortable home office environment. I've been doing this since 1990, for goodness sake. So I'm thankful. So this is in 2001, Stella. I wrote, I'm thankful for the amazing technology of the internet in allowing us to network with the world from home. And that's what I was looking to achieve, exactly this today, back in 1994, when the first internet connection came into my home here. 8, I'm thankful for my health that allows the ability to exercise every day and go for a regular run with our dog. Well, I've outlasted my dog since then, but we've got other dogs that we're running with, and cats. Number 9, I'm thankful for every day of my life that has led to this day, none of which I would change. So I went back to actually review that and said, okay, well, what am I now thankful for 20 years later? And again, all I can say, it's 20x that. I love my life. So that's what I'm thankful for. Wherever I am on this totem pole of life, I understand the guys above me and there are guys below me, and those are non-sexist guys I'm talking about. And so I'm thankful for what we have every day.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Trevor. I think you know, people have touched on all elements of things that all of us should be grateful for, and I think it's absolutely fantastic that we can be grateful, because you know, to be grateful is, and then we've spoken about this before, is simply a mindset. You know, one can be grateful or one can be ungrateful, and it's your choice. So we spoke about decisions as well. You know, it's choosing which route you want to take, and we often see people who have lots and are privileged, but they're ungrateful. You know, they actually bitter, and it's sad when that happens, because I think we all have things to be fantastically grateful for. So you know, I really appreciate this discussion.
So we've lost Ivan.
Sorry, I'm just going to share one screen. I had to let go of my spacebar to share the screen while I was. So I just wanted to share that little screen, a picture I sent out the other day to some family members, saying I think this encapsulates lockdown for me in a single picture. But you know, it's something that I'm grateful for, and we've spoken about it. It's, you know, it's a little GPS tracking device that I have. I walked around my house for 5 kilometers the other day, and I tracked it. But I'm absolutely grateful that I've got the space to be able to do that. And even though it looks a bit like a ball of string, you know, going round and round and round in circles, but it's something that I can do, and you know, grateful for the fact that I can do it in my property, and B, I have the health and the strength to be able to do it. And you know, I think we are blessed in so many different ways, and taking the time to just sit down and think about how we are blessed in those different ways, I think makes a massive difference to our perspectives and our outlooks on life. So again, a fantastic discussion, everybody. I really enjoyed it this morning. Lee, I don't know if you'd just like to wrap up quickly, and then I think we can go and be grateful for the rest of this beautiful day that looks like it's sun's coming up and looking nice outside, as Ian said. And yeah.
Ivan, I thought you'd taken up drawing as a lockdown activity for a second. I was going to suggest a different one.
No, this is actually one of my better pieces of art, Steve. My drawing skills aren't even up to that, you know. So I've got to use my feet to do it. Like Guy says, you know. I think we just have to do things in ways that we can. Some of us have those strengths, and some of us just simply don't. So.
Yeah, just to wrap up, I think, this context, the topic of gratitude really came up in some ways, not only because of what other people, it sort of naturally lent its way there, but also because as we've been listening to people's stories, we have acknowledged that life has been hard. People have gone through really difficult times. And how do we respond in good times and bad to keep ourselves on track? It comes back to what you've got within you to be able to keep going when things are hard, and that is to look for what is good, what you can be grateful for. It somehow changes that downward spiral of negativity and worry, to just keep your head above water. And so that's the one thing I was thinking as we were talking, and just saying, yes, we're grateful, but it's in the context of our own lives going through rough patches, having been through difficult times. It's also in the context of the world and our country, and especially large groups of people in our country who are really, really struggling. And I had just a simple message. I contacted my helper over the weekend and just said, how are you doing? How are you managing? She said, I'm good. G-U-D, I'm good. I'm in Orange Farms. I'm bored and I don't have electricity, but I'm fine. So, I just admire somebody who, it's hard, and yet she's finding ways to keep herself going. So it is difficult when you are in a place of privilege to know how to be grateful. And I think that for me, that is the response. If you are in privilege, you better be grateful. That's the very least you can do. And then what do you do with that? So those are the things that just came from this conversation. And let's see where it takes us tomorrow.